Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. Anonymous News asks, can you tell me any scenarios where force is permissible? Now, I can't find the original post where he said this. Believe me, I've tried. I cannot find it. I don't know what happened to it. YouTube messages are so weird. I don't know how that goes. But anyways, I can answer this question. When is force morally okay? I can personally think of three main scenarios where it can be. Now, of course, there might be others, but this is what I can think of off the top of my head. Number one, the obvious one, self-defense. If somebody is an immediate threat to you or others, note the word immediate, not possible threat, not maybe threat, not gonna be a threat, nothing like that. There's no wiggle room there. If someone is an immediate threat to you or others, it is morally permissible to use the use of force to protect yourself of others up to the point at which the person is not a threat anymore. If you can disable them, do so. If you have to kill them, so be it. And in broader terms, there's some laws that say that it is permissible to break the law if you can demonstrate that it was necessary to avoid greater harm. For example, if you drive drunk in order to escape from an attacker, yes, that is okay, that is permissible. But in all cases, the burden of proof is on you to make that case in court. For obvious reasons, it cannot simply be assumed by default. And I think it's pretty reasonable to assume any free market court would operate in this same manner as well. Number two, if you are permitted to. Now, this is the case of it's not immoral for a doctor to cut you open to perform surgery on you because you have given him permission to do that. Or if you're into S&M, it's not immoral for you to mock torture each other because you have given each other permission to do so. And things like that. That's pretty obvious. Now, the third one is where it gets a little bit iffy, but I think this is pretty concrete. In an emergency, if it is reasonable to assume the person would permit you to if they could and knew of the whole scenario. For example, if someone is in a car accident and he's unconscious and you give him emergency CPR and say you break a few of his ribs, is that immoral? No, because think about it. Would the average person want you to save your life? Yeah, that's a pretty reasonable assumption. So yes, even though you weren't permitted to perform CPR, it's totally okay. Or even there was a case I remember watching a news story of a fellow who was choking on an airplane, and they tried this Heimlich maneuver, they tried all this stuff, and try as they might, they just could not get it to come up. So there was a doctor on board. He made a snap judgment, took someone's pocket knife, disinfected it as best he could, and cut into his neck to get the piece of meat out. And lo and behold, he did succeed and the guy did survive. Yeah, he performed surgery without permission, but would it be reasonable to assume the guy would want him to do that? Well, yeah, it was the only way to save his life. It was a gamble, but it was the only thing they could do. So that was an emergency, and the doctor made a call, so there you go. And there's other examples like, is it okay to shove a blind person out of the way of an oncoming car? Yes, it is, because it is reasonable to assume the blind person would want you to save his life if he was aware that his life was in danger. And yeah, there's gonna be times where it might be a little tricky, because that's life. Sometimes you have to make tough calls. If there's an emergency, you make a judgment call and you live with the consequences of it. And people like to take that and assume it to mean, oh, that means moral law is invalid. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. That just makes no sense at all, people who have thinking like that. It's like saying, when we discovered the platypus, it just completely destroyed all of zoology because the platypus is considered a mammal but doesn't quite follow all the qualifications of one. Yeah, the platypus was an odd case, so the scientist made a judgment. It mostly falls into the category of mammal, and so that's where he put it. We don't just throw up our hands and go, oh no, there's no clear answer here, we got to throw it all out. I mean, we'd never get anything done if we did that. So that's the answer to your question. I do hope it helps, and if anyone else has any questions, please post them, and hopefully Google won't eat them. Until next time, be aware and be wise.